the Sinulog, the Dinagyang, the Ati-Atihan, all cancelled because they could potentially be super spreader events. It is difficult, of course, to discard tradition, especially when it has to do with our Catholic faith. But COVID leaves us no choice, not even in this small part of the world that is predominantly Catholic. To be sure, there are other festivals that, although have nothing to do with being Catholic, are or were also cancelled. Baguio's Flower Festival in February, for one, and don't forget, last year's All Saints and All Souls Day trek to the cemeteries that we all know isn't really spent just praying by graves and tombs. Pangs of guilt assuaged by priests and bishops who said we can always pray for the dead in the safety of our homes. But these fiestas that we've had to cancel, the feast day of a patron saint, a way by which the Spanish crown and the friars kept the natives subservient and subjugated, handed down through the generations and now a colorful part of Philippine culture. How to preserve the sights and sounds for the next normal, how to make sure culture isn't canceled just because of COVID, so that we never forget.
I'm Hontiveros. We'll be asking the hard questions for stories that matter to you. Front and center, our culture and COVID-19. What happens next to fiestas and festivals, keeping our cultural heritage alive amid this health and economic crisis. How festivals embody our rich history and religion, and how they all form the very fabric of our identity and community. And the many ways Filipinos celebrate fiestas in the new normal. Well, aside from beautiful landscapes, the Philippines is also a destination for colorful festivals. Filipinos never run out of reasons to celebrate, especially for occasions that are deeply embedded in our culture. But with the pandemic restricting movement, these festivities have been muted. Front and center in this discussion is Tourism Undersecretary Benito Bengzon. Sir, thank you very much for coming on the show. Well, let's begin with this. I remember, well, everyone remembers, the iconic "It's More Fun in the Philippines," the DOT's tourism promotion tagline. And nakakapanghinayang lang to think that we have so many fiestas and festivals that we cannot celebrate the way we used to. But we are adjusting, hindi po ba, Yusek Bengzon?
Well, that's right, Pia. We have to adjust to the new situation. Clearly, the pandemic has compelled us to take a look at how we've celebrated, for example, these fiestas and festivals. And it was quite encouraging to listen to Iloilo City Mayor Treñas and Cebu City Vice Mayor Rama talk about their innovative approaches to make sure that the cultural heritage is still there and that we give the opportunity for people to celebrate, although in a different manner.
All right. So parang the keywords here, innovation, creativity, being as innovative and creative as possible to still preserve that culture. Yusek Bengzon, let's listen first to this portion of a statement made by the Commissioner of the National Commission for Culture and the Arts, NCCA, the chairman, Arsenio Lizaso.
The late Yucatan scholar and cultural worker, Dr. Florentino Ornedo, says it best. It is to this small community that is annually recreated by the fiesta that he goes home to renew his identity and sense of belonging to a home and familial village. Now that the pandemic has made us physically and sometimes emotionally apart, it is also high time that we need something to connect us again and enliven our spirits.
Well, Undersecretary Bengzon, these are very interesting words coming from Mr. Lizaso, no? Renewing identity and a sense of belonging. And this is why fiestas are so important. So what can we do? No? Not just the DOT, but the entire government as a whole. Lahat tayong Pilipino, no, who love fiestas. We love going home to attend all these fiestas and festivities. No? What can we do so that we can still feel that we are renewing our identity and that we still belong to a community, even if we are celebrating things a little bit differently?
Well, let me pick it up from what Chairman Lizazo mentioned, talking about renewing our identity, and if I may add, the need to preserve our cultural heritage. This is a collective responsibility among all of us Filipinos. That's why, even with this very difficult situation that we are in now, we have to continue to celebrate fiestas and festivals, because this is very much a part of Filipino traditions. It's an opportunity for us to show our love for joy celebrations, to of course to appreciate our arts and culture, cuisine, of course, in various ways, and we hope that Filipinos will adopt these new platforms that are being used now to celebrate the fiestas.
So what you're saying, Yusek Bengzon, Undersecretary Bengzon, is that what the DOT wants is for many other local, the rest of the local government officials to do exactly this, to just innovate and to be creative, because there will be many other festivals, fiestas. We don't necessarily have to cancel culture, to cancel the event entirely, but we just need to tweak it.
That's correct. Like I said, there are many ways of celebrating this on virtual platforms, but there are also other ways of promoting cultural tourism. And the instruction now of Secretary Berna Romulo Puyat is for us to work on tourism circuits in destinations that have opened up. And the idea here is to be able to showcase our cuisine, our arts, our handicrafts in the different destinations. So apart from providing travel opportunities to Filipinos, to us Filipinos who have been quarantined for quite some time, it also provides an opportunity to restart tourism and different business enterprises, particularly at the community level. This is really the thrust of the DOT, to make sure that we're able to bring business back by helping enterprises and also by helping displaced workers.
Well, thank you very much for joining us on the show, Tourism Undersecretary Benito Bengzon. The stories that matter are front and center. More than the pomp and color, fiestas are a pillar of our heritage and tradition. And there's no stopping Filipinos from celebrating these festivals that have been handed down from generation to generation. Keep it here on CNN Philippines. We keep the stories that matter front and center. I'm Pia Hontiveros. Welcome back to the program. Every city or province has its own fiesta every year. As a predominantly Catholic country, many of these festivities honor a patron saint. Others celebrate a historical event or a bountiful harvest. All these show the historical and social value of our fiestas and how we can never live without them. Sociologist of religion Jay Cornelio takes the matter front and center. Jay, thank you very much for being with us on the show. Can you give us a little history lesson? Squeeze a few centuries into a minute and a half and explain to us the origins, the reasons behind the fiesta, the religious festivals.
Okay. There are two ways to make sense of the history of these fiestas in our country, Ms. Pia. The first is that some of these have been with us for a long time, and precisely because they were administered and they were first introduced as catechetical instruction for people. At a time when people were not literate, fiestas, festivals were practical ways for people to understand their faith, in a very tactile, in a very physical manner. But at the same time, we also can't deny that many of these rituals, traditions, processions are invented. Many of them emerged only in the 20th century or became pretty successful only in the course of the past decades. So I think that also demonstrates to us how tradition is not really this thing that has been with us for since time immemorial, but one that continues to evolve depending on the needs of a community, the interests of a community, and certainly the changing values of people.
Okay, well, interesting that you have those two words in your explanation, tradition and evolve. And yeah, you're right. Not everything was the practice a long time ago. We really adapt. That's how, I guess that's how people express their faith or how people want to celebrate. Is it a Pinoy thing to, to add on? Ang daming add-ons doon sa original na festival or fiesta. And also, yeah, interesting when you say catechetical instruction kasi ganyan talaga yung ginawa ng mga Spanish friars, no? Parang tinuturuan talaga yung mga, well, at the time, natives, no? All about the Catholic faith.
Yes, in fact, this is how. So going back to your earlier point about how Filipinos add on to the tradition, if you will, this is exactly what sociologists and anthropologists might call the process of localization or appropriation. So the Catholic Church or religious leaders may have had a particular intention, say catechism, but once they are received and they are appropriated by local Filipinos, then they develop their own meanings and their own practices. So, I mean, a very concrete example would be the Black Nazarene, diba? So just in January, we had that very big procession. Well, every January we would have that big procession. But it's really the blackness of the Black Nazarene that really appeals to many Filipinos, and also the very many stories that surround the image, healing, miracles, and in a way, the procession is, in as much as it brings people together physically, it's also an assertion of a specific narrative. It's a narrative that God is with His people, God is with those who are suffering, and God is willing to answer their prayers. Just be faithful, just be devoted. So this is how, in many ways, Catholic rituals have been appropriated and understood by Filipinos, whether it's in Cebu in the form of Santo Niño or Black Nazarene in Quiapo. But yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, God is with those who are oppressed, yung mga inaapi. No, that's why ganun yung image ng Black Nazarene, no, nakaluhod, no. At the same time, again, interesting terms that you're using, appropriation, localization. So yung mga paghahagis ng tuwalya halimbawa doon sa the image of the Black Nazarene, and it's good that you brought up the traslasyon because I wanted to bring this up, there is a Roblox traslasyon. So do we see people adapting to the pandemic, preserving culture, digitizing, no? Is that how you see it, Jay?
Yes, Miss Pia. This is exactly how traditions are understood by sociologists and anthropologists. Tradition is never a homogeneous and monolithic thing. It is always evolving. It really depends on who is running it and who is implementing it. And especially in times of crisis or many limitations, inadequacies like our situation today, you will see how people would assert their identities, would assert their cultural heritage by adapting to the situation. I know earlier that you asked Yusek Bengzon, how people and how the state, the government could preserve cultural heritage. But in many ways, Ms. Pia, I feel that it's not so much about the preservation of cultural heritage, really. Because as far as many Filipinos are concerned, culture is a given. Being Catholic is a given. Being Christian is a given. And so it's from that assumption that people operate. It's from that assumption that people do and carry out their many rituals and many traditions. And in a way, what's happening on the internet and how people are adjusting, maybe coming up with small-scale activities instead of the large-scale ones, in lieu of the large-scale rituals. Those are really attempts of people to not preserve, but really just to enact, live out who they really are. And that's how we should understand traditions. They're not just about bringing people together, but they're also assertions of the values people believe in.
Well, thank you so much for your wisdom and your perspective. Very important for us to hear those words from you, sociologist of religion, J. Cornelio. Maraming salamat sa iyo. Our most celebrated Pinoy fiestas are front and center. Among these, the Dinagyang of Iloilo and Sinulog of Cebu. How the Ilonggos and Cebuanos celebrated two of the biggest festivals in the country in the face of COVID-19. After this short break. Welcome back to Front and Center. We want answers on the stories that matter to you. I'm Pia Hontiveros. COVID-19 stopped almost everything in its tracks, but not these two, the Dinagyang in Iloilo and Sinulog in Cebu. For the first time, Filipinos here and abroad watched virtually these Ati tribe dancers perform with masks on to celebrate the feast of the Santo Niño at the Dinagyang Festival in Iloilo. And in Cebu, Cebuanos also celebrated the Sinulog in muted fashion. Front and center now are Iloilo City Mayor Jerry Treñas and Cebu City Vice Mayor Mike Rama. Thank you very much, Mayor Treñas and Vice Mayor Rama, for joining us on the show. But let me speak first to Mayor Treñas of Iloilo City, if that's all right with you, sir. Well, let's begin with this. Can you describe to us the sights and sounds, the richness of the Dinagyang Festival of Iloilo pre-COVID, pre-pandemic? Mayor Treñas.
Pia, Mayor Mike, after we learned that this pandemic was going to stay for a while, together with the Iloilo Festivals Foundation, the city government tried to find ways as to how to celebrate our biggest festival. And so what we did was to get 20 warriors coming from the schools, and we tested them. We placed them in a facility for 20 days, and they performed for the whole Dinagyang. And we covered all the districts of Iloilo City, showcasing all the tourism and historical destinations of the city. And after the 20 days, they were tested again, and they were after release all negative. No, we wanted to have a very safe celebration, and we did it virtual celebration. No, all the performances were taped. And the celebration was just through the social media platforms. No, this was thought of because of the problem of the pandemic. We cannot allow the festival to go on as it was going on for the past several years. So we came up with this idea, tested them, all of them negative, placed them in a bubble, never allowed anyone to visit them while they were in the bubble. And then after we tape all the performances, they were released also negative. No? We just had to be creative because we are living with this pandemic, and it's taking a lot of our creativity just to make sure that we go on with our celebration in the midst of this pandemic.
Well, that's so good to hear, Mayor Treñas, especially the being creative part. But so that's how you tweaked and toned it down. But can you describe to us, some of us have never been able to attend the Dinagyang of Iloilo City. Can you tell us what it's like, what it was like pre-pandemic, and how it compared to the one that you just had virtually?
It's totally different, Pia, because without the pandemic, there would be people all around the city. A lot of beer would be drunk, and a lot of food will be eaten, and it's the biggest fiesta in the province and city of Iloilo. So you can imagine the people coming from all over and celebrating it with us.
Well, Mayor Trias, please stand by. I'm going to speak first to Vice Mayor Mike Rama of Cebu City. Vice Mayor Rama, you heard my questions to Mayor Trias of Iloilo. Yes. So I have the same questions for you. Before you talk about how you tweaked and or toned down the Sinulog for Cebu, can you tell us first, describe to us, the sights and sounds and how beautiful a celebration the Sinulog is in Cebu?
Sinulog been a Sot festival. In fact, it is being known already as the Sinulog in whole Asia. And you name it, we talk about culture, art, eating, beach, and so forth and so on. That is a very much, as I said at the outset, look forward to yearly third Sunday, January 3 until January 17. We had our Sinulog, but substantially reformed and all the way online and global. When I say global, Jerry, even New York, Las Vegas, and then where else? Other countries. They also participated by their offering globally. And that is from 9 o'clock in the morning until 7 o'clock in the evening last January 17, culminated with a simple fireworks. That is how we celebrated Sinulog 41 years here.
Yes. Well, Vice Mayor Mike and Mayor Jerry, I can't help but remember the iconic It's More Fun in the Philippines. And nakakapanghinayang talaga, no, when we have all these very beautiful, colorful fiestas and festivals that we cannot celebrate the way we used to do. So my question now, and after that, we're going to say goodbye to the both of you. But you know what, we don't know how long this will go on. A while ago, Vice Mayor Mike, sabi po ninyo, sana by next year, 2022, it's back to normal, no? But how do we pivot or adjust to the next normal moving forward? We want to preserve our heritage, our culture. We want to have our fiestas the way we've always had them. But we know we have this pandemic. So moving forward, ano po yung vision natin? Mayor Jerry Treñas po muna.
Pia, at saka my good friend Mike, sa Iloilo, we have already started the procurement of our vaccines. We are looking at Dinagyang 2022 and expecting things to be already in the new normal. No, we are very much hopeful that with the vaccines coming in, even only starting from the second half of this year, we will be able to inoculate all who are found in Iloilo City.
Okay.
And we can start having the normal Dinagyang, which we all used to celebrate. We are already
Vice Mayor
preparing.
Yes. Yes, Pia, our mayor, Mayor Edgardo Colina Labella, with us in the Sangguniang Panlungsod, which I am the presiding officer. We also have, as I was sharing with Mayor Jerry earlier, 500 million on a cash standby to address this matter about immunization. Now, looking forward, in fact, when we started organizing Sinulog 2021, started last September, Piha, we were already seeing the 500 years of Christianity, Sinulog edition, and then seeing beyond the triumphant Sinulog. Because we cannot but really have to feel being optimism. We have to be optimistic. We cannot just be pessimistic. And then with Senior Santo Niño,
Okay.
we can really confront COVID-19 and look forward to new normal with all and possible everybody vaccinated. Then you are invited via be in Cebu in our triumphant Sinulog 2022. So with Mayor Cherry Trinas, we will be there in Iloilo too.
Yes. Wow, gentlemen, I wish we had more time, but thank you so much for joining us on the show. And yes, I accept the invitation. Sana pwede na next year. But, well, let's see how things go. So, to Iloilo City Mayor Jerry Trinas, sir, thank you so much. And Cebu City Vice Mayor Mike Rama, maraming salamat po sa inyong dalawa. We've come this far and sacrificed so much. What's a little more, like toning down our fiestas, festivals, and special occasions? To keep each other safe, to protect one another while preserving our rich culture, at least virtually for now. After all, it is history that defines who we are. It is the past that will continue to prepare us for the future amid these unprecedented times. This is Front and Center. I'm Hontiveros. Thanks for joining us.